Marfoogle TV live in 3, 2.
Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Israeli strike on assembly of experts hits at symbolic heart of Iran's Islamic regime. They're saying that on Tuesday, the IDF targeted a building in which 88-member Iranian assembly of experts was reportedly meeting to choose the Islamic Republic's next supreme leader. Again, this Israeli sources have told the Jerusalem Post. Tasnim, affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, confirmed that the assembly's compound in Qom had been struck and that the building in Tehran, located in the Farm of Parliament site, was also hit overnight. The Telegram channel ZTV claimed that the strike targeted a formal session convened to select the Islamic Republic's next leader. Alleging members were perished forcibly or wounded. If accurate, the strikes were aimed at the most sensitive institutional body of the Islamic Republic. They are going for gold here. They are not going to stop. They're going to try to take out absolutely any leadership whatsoever of this regime. The Assembly of Experts, again, is a clerical body empowered under Iran's constitution to appoint, supervise, and in theory dismiss the supreme leader. The second and last person to fill that role was Ali Khamenei, who was, of course, taken out in Israeli airstrikes on Saturday morning. The assembly consists, of course, of those 88 clerical jurists and elected to 8-year terms. The candidates must first be vetted by the Guardian Council. That council in itself half appointed directly by the supreme leader and half indirectly under his influence. So these people were about to fill the quota, but it looks like we're going to talk about who is going to end up probably taking the spot anyways. And again, it's crazy how this works. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. Marfoogle TV, make sure to not go anywhere. It is absolute chaos out there. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
And crazy and crazy and crazy and crazy and thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy.
All right, you thought this was over, but it is just the beginning. Again, this is not something that's going to last a couple days and fizzle out. They have now picked it. As we just talked about, this 88-member team that was supposed to pick, they said there's, conflicting reports what happened to that and how many places were struck during this whole thing. But they are saying that Khamenei's son is chosen in Iran as Iran's new supreme leader. To bring you this, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, I mean, I don't know. I could think it's kind of interesting because everybody thought that's going to be the choice anyways. Was it going to be somebody else? Like, almost everybody thought it was going to be his son, but what do you think about this?
Well, look, the Assembly of Experts, as we just talked about, which were supposed to meet in that meeting in that building, they got bombed. They have said they've elected him. They had their vote for him, and they did it under pressure from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who was asking them to hurry up and name a leader. But the senior officials said that the decision came after the media had said that the 88-member Assembly of Experts building was struck, but they said they weren't inside, or at least that's what they're reporting. And maybe he wasn't inside, maybe they were, maybe they're just saying he's the chosen one. But nonetheless, that's the report coming out, is that it is his son. I don't think it matters much at the moment, because he's pretty much, no different. He was sort of the gatekeeper to his father. He was very much entrenched. Some even suggest he may be more or worse, if you want to call it that, at the role, as it would relate to how we would view things from the outside. But at the same time, I just wonder, it's only a matter of time before, a $2 million missile comes in and takes him out. So they'll just have to keep going down the ranks until they're all gone.
Couple of you question, if I'm pro-U.S. and pro-Israel. I'm most definitely pro-U.S. I'm not pro, as far as Iran and Israel, those are two countries I don't live in. As far as Iran, I'm not pro-Iran, that's for sure, just because of how they govern and how they run. I mean, it's religious differences. I'm not in the same religion. Theocracies in itself is something that, that's a hard one to go with when you don't believe in that same religion. But as far as what's happening there, as far as what happened since 1979 or 1972, it is pretty crazy to see the drastic turn of events that happened in that country when the Iranian regime took place. As far as who's doing it, yeah, I talk about the corruption in every single country, and including our own. There's no clean way, but now people are either going to say, oh, you've got to be on this side or that side. I'd rather just look at both sides and actually look at this as what it is. There's a bigger thing happening here, and everybody wants to focus on Iran or Israel, but I think this is bigger than that. I keep telling people this is bigger than this. This is China. This is literally China beyond all of this. Beyond all of this, this is going to be the war with China. And people are very quick to just watch what's going on right now, but they're not thinking 3 steps ahead. I mean, it's not hard to predict this stuff. Yesterday, we talked about how, the 80% of the people there did not like this regime, and they want to change out. And again, I questioned that. I was the first to question that. I said, who the heck is doing the survey? What if it's 90% do want this regime? Then again, in my view, if 100% of a country wants the regime that's in power, then let them have it. It's not our place to frickin' go in there. But as far as this regime, they literally chant death to us, right? As far as that goes, though, if 80% want to take it down, well, what we said is that they can't do that because they don't have weapons. I don't believe in a country that can't own weapons, for one, because this kind of thing happens. Well, we said that they were probably going to have to arm them. And then today, what is being said? They're planning to arm them. It's just nuts how predictable this is. And if you look at it like this, and every event that's happened was predictable, and we did predict, people don't like the I told you so's, but to anybody new, they don't realize we have been on track and on par with this and accurate with this. Therefore, people should heed this community's advice, because they're telling you to prepare for something that we can all see coming. And that's China. China is the big war here. China is going to be the biggest war we have seen in our lifetime. This is small potatoes compared to that. But also, I look at the fact that there's corruption here. There's possibly a bigger plan going on in all of these secretive meetings that have been going on between all of the elite world leaders. I'm not stupid. These people legitimately think that they need to reduce the amount of people around. And that is because they're looking at it from this logistical, paperwork thing and going, oh, the earth is bad. Instead of them curtailing the crappy crap that they put into the atmosphere, or changing things so they make less money and make things better, they're like, well, or we could just, get rid of people. Instead of, oh, let's make our product so it's, it doesn't harm people, or we could just get rid of the people, right? As far as this goes, this is all heading very, very south. All of these people that have been meeting, if you think about it this way, there could be a Fantastic Freddy event that happens from this where all of the lights get turned out and it's pointed in a direct direction right to Iran. And who knows? What if it's not Iran that turns off our lights? What if it is a party that you wouldn't expect? After 2001, many people have questions about, if something does happen, would they look that direction, or would they look more our direction if that kind of thing happened? It's scary stuff. Now, as far as the CIA station in Saudi capital was hit in a drone attack. So they just keep hitting stuff. Now, if you're watching Twitter, it's insane how much is being posted. I mean, this is a way, way bigger conflict than really even the headlines describe. There's stuff flying all over the place right now, and people are thinking that this is like a quick, they're seeing the headlines that we've sunk all of their Navy warships. Well, their Navy warships were never a big part of their plan. Like Iran knows their Navy was going to get decimated. Their Navy was more for like when their country wasn't in war, those Navy warships could, stop tankers and stop boats and monitor their waters and patrol. But those boats couldn't go up against the U.S. Navy. Like there's no chance. Even with help of other allies' navies, maybe if there's a Navy thing they could help out. But their Navy was never part of it. What their big thing was all of their missiles. They just kept stockpiling, and they're stockpiling cheap and relatively accurate missiles that they could just launch and launch and launch. Their whole strategy is to overwhelm us, make us use up as many Patriot missiles as possible. And for me, that says to me that they are trying to literally run us down low, because there is something that is going to come after this. These are people that really legitimately hate us and want us to not be number one. The CIA station that was hit, again, one of many, many places that is being hit right now. A suspected Iranian drone attack hit the CIA station at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia on Monday in what would amount to be a symbolic victory for the Islamic Republic as it lashes out at the U.S. targets and personnel across the Middle East. It says the U.S. and Saudi governments confirmed the two drones hit the U.S. Embassy complex in Riyadh and did not disclose the America's spy hub was hit in the attack. It says no CIA personnel were wounded. The agency declined to comment. The drone attack came 3 days into a conflict launched early Saturday by the United States and Israel on Iran. The waves of strikes that perished the Iran supreme leader in the first day and scores of its senior military and political command have prompted fierce retaliation by the Islamic Republic against the U.S. and Israeli targets in the region, as well as those of Gulf partners. So there's still a structure that's still there that's actively giving orders, actively launching. I mean, like this is still going full bore. So yeah, big moves are being made right now. They're loading up launchers as we speak. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, I hope that this never happens, but I know that most of you are happy to prepare against something like this, because even if it is a 5% chance or a 1% chance that this could happen, which some experts have it at a 30% chance right now that it could happen, again, this is a device that can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators against an EMP blast. If any of our adversaries, including China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, try to do one of these, then we can defend against it by having one of these devices on our vehicles. Again, our generators, our homes. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, get the same protection that and the same company that's outfitting DOW, Department of Homeland Security, the DEMSO team with the Texas Grid, FBI, Air Force. So again, you can get this protection for yourself at marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. It takes less than 10 minutes to put in your car, even less time than that on some of the generator models. You just plug and play, and then you're protected. It will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your device. That way, you have power. You're not stuck in the dark. marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. All right, Dex, let's talk about the CIA working to arm Kurdish forces to spark an uprising in Iran. Like, what about the timing on this? Do you guys remember last night's show?
Yeah, exactly. So this is to be expected in the sense that if we're not going to roll in and pull an Iraq Gulf conflict where we literally rolled troops in and took over, then you've got to have it happen from within. You can't just cut off the head of the snake because it'll just grow another head. You got to really just change it out and turn it into something hopefully better. You never know; you might get something just as bad. But nonetheless, the CIA is working with the to arm the Kurdish forces with an aim of fomenting the popular uprising in Iran. According to the Trump administration, has been actively discussing with Iranian opposition groups, so those groups that are in Iran, as well as Kurdish leaders that are in Iraq, which are just across the border there, about providing them with military support. The Iranian Kurdish armed groups have thousands of forces operating along the Iran-Iraq border, primarily in Iraq's Kurdistan region. Several of the groups have released public statements since the beginning of the war, hinting at imminent action and urging Iranian military forces to defect. Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has been striking those Kurdish groups. Obviously, they're one of the many targets as they just basically spray and pray all of their missiles away at any target they can. They've been hitting the areas there in Iraq and where these Kurdish forces have been built up. So also on Tuesday, President Trump spoke with the president of the Democratic Party of the Iranian Kurdistan, Mustafa Hiri. According to senior Iranian Kurdish officials, the KDPI was one of the groups targeted by the IRGC. So another one of the opposition groups. So trying to get as many of these opposition groups together as possible and arm them and get them in a position where they can fight inside would be my supposition here. So they say, we believe we have a big chance now, the source said, explaining the timing of the operation. The source added that the militias expect U.S. and Israeli support. As we refer to this in the other article, they're expecting air support, which makes a lot of sense. There's already been a ton of air support in the region of the western area of Iran, where these folks have been stashing and storing up weapons. So, but I assume when they start to move in, when they actually start to form, create formations, start to roll and start to move, that you will see a tremendous amount of air support from the U.S. and probably Israel to protect them as they move forward and give them the support they need from the air.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really, really predictable as far as what was going to happen there. And it's crazy how often it happens the very next day. It's just the messaging. And the reason we say that is the messaging they put out, it obviously puts you to a conclusion. It's like a very bad scripted movie that is like, oh, obviously that guy is the bad guy. He did it. Or, obviously that guy's the one who... he murdered it. It's like with the survey, how they put out that survey and how they put out that messaging that 80%, want to take over the country. That's what made me question it. I go, this is so set up for them to say, oh, well, we need to arm them because they're unarmed. And then boom, that's what happens. If it is accurate or inaccurate, it's just funny how the messaging is very, very, very clear. And it's like they drip feed the events to us, but you always know what's going to happen next. And then Israel sends troops into southern Lebanon as Hezbollah says it's ready for open war. Talking troops on troops, not just drones on locations. We're talking about, troops marching in and marching on. Of course, Israel sent troops into southern Lebanon on Tuesday and warned residents of more than 80 villages to evacuate the Iran-backed militant Hezbollah group, said it was ready for an open war with Israel in the wake of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. The development came after Hezbollah fired rockets and launched drones early Monday towards northern Israel. Israel retaliated with a wave of airstrikes that took out 50 people. Now, I bet they do have to go into some of these places because those places are actively launching at Israel, and Israel is not taking everything out. Nobody's talking about this. The fact that Israel is... Dex, have you noticed how normally they say, well, they fired this many things at Israel and they took out every one of them, right? Have you noticed that? They always say, they fired 300 and they took out about 298 of them. Almost everything failed. They're not talking about anything failing right now because the city's being hit. Israel's being hit.
Oh yeah, it's it's getting hit, and the drones are sneaking in. because the lower they're slower. They sneak by. They're not as big, but they still cause damage and can still kill people. And that's one angle, and then just the overwhelming the dome, so to speak, and the different variabilities of the dome with multiple things.
But do you realize how big that is? Because when we saw the 12-day war, right, we saw videos of what was coming their way, and that was massive. They fired 300 drones and missiles and all at once, and you saw videos of that, and it was unbelievable. And they were saying, we knocked almost everything out of the sky. Mind you, on top of the Arrow, David's Sling, and the Iron Dome system, that was before they brought out their laser system, we had the U.S. parked off of the water. It was also defending Israel from all of this, right? That was the 12-day war. During that period, they flew all that and they knocked out almost everything. If they're hitting like they are right now, not only have they fired more than 300, they were saying that they fired 900. That's 3 times what they did in that 12-day war, and they fired it all in like 24 hours. And supposedly they might have hundreds of thousands of these things. So
right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the estimates are they've done in 48 hours. They've done 700 to 771 ballistic missiles fired at various targets. We did 900 in 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
900 targets was the U.S. Israel was over 1,000 in 48 hours or something like that. So yeah, they've been.
But
hit
that's ballistic missiles.
Hard.
Is that the number without drones?
Yeah, it doesn't count. I think it's 588 ballistic missiles, 893 drones, 11 countries. It was one report. Another one was 186 ballistic missiles. There's different reports from different people that are trying to keep count, but it's a lot. But nonetheless, it is very much a high number. Let's call it 1,000. We've done over 1,000 on the first day ourselves. Israel did that, and so did Iran. And for the last 2 days, they've done 1,000. So call it that, and keep it simple numbers.
I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah, there's one thing after another. By the way, that's crazy. That's not AI, by the way. There's some of these hits in Israel that are just nuts, and then you see their defenses systems working, and they're not blocking everything. There's specifically videos of them hitting 5 or 6, and then this one comes in a hypersonic, just whoosh, knocks it out. While these people are watching from a rooftop, and they're like, "Whoa! It just hit right here." I mean, there's massive areas of Israel that are on fire right now. So to think about how much has to be, flung their way to overwhelm the Iron Dome, their laser system, their sling, David's Sling, and the Arrow system, that is a massive conflict right now. And you just don't hear too many people talking about how much is actually, hitting. It's big time.
Well, imagine what it would be if it was double this, right?
Oh yeah, They were talking about 2,000 at once.
Yeah, imagine if it was triple what they've done. There could come a point where I wouldn't call them undefeatable, but it would be extremely undefendable. And I think that's the whole point of one of the points of this is to stop the rampant production of the missiles, because there's so many, and we've seen the stockpiles under the mountains, and hopefully those have been caved in with bunker busters, but obviously they keep pulling more out from different rabbit holes that they've got all over the country. And if that's what they have now, imagine what they would have a year from now, 2 years from now.
They've known about the U.S.'s superiority in this area. They know. It's not like it's a secret. Most of the technology that the U.S. had, that we had this advantage over them, they know about all of this. So they have to work around the crazy advantages we have, and the few vulnerabilities that we have, they exploit those 1,000%. And one of those is just sheer numbers. Sheer numbers is going to be a thing in all of our conflict. Any conflict against the U.S., it's going to be about math. It's going to be how many do we have versus how many do they have. And that's why when people talk about, numbers don't matter, because China has the largest navy in the world now, right? By ship number, they're like, well, we have 11 carriers and they only have 3. Mind you, they're building carriers like crazy, and they're building carriers that can literally launch 3 times the amount of planes that our carrier can launch in the same minute, right? So they're looking at things and how ways they can essentially make one ship do the job of 3. And they're looking at those kind of things too. But even then, if you can take our carriers out in as little as 20 minutes, which our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said that China could, then it doesn't matter how many carriers we have if they can spot them, locate them, and take them out with missiles before we even know about it. If they can do it with underwater drones or underwater submarines, that's even crazier. If they could just go whoop and just hit them, take them out within seconds, then boom, we're done. As far as that goes. But sheer numbers, they're using their fishing fleet. They're going to be using every single boat. They're going to be using civilian ferries to do island landing. They're going to be using cruise ships. They're going to be using everything they have. And that is because they're looking at sheer numbers are going to matter. That's why they're telling their country it's going to be an all-out war, an all-out country war. Like the entire country is going to be involved. And it's no wonder why they've been hoarding rice, wheat, grain, oil, gold, everything they can to literally support their entire country. They're looking at feeding their entire country. They literally have enough to support their country 2.5 times over as far as food goes. And you only do that if you are literally going to support your country through something. So they're planning for an all-out war. And I think it's very convenient that, this conflict with Iran is going to be a numbers game. We're going to be using a ton of our defenses. And I bet you at our lowest, if we're using more than we make, then that's not a good scenario for in the next year having to start a war with China, or even less than a year, 6 months, who knows? Thank you, Julie Sieg. Thank you so much for gifting out 5 badges to Foogle family members. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just Some Guy, thank you for joining the fam. Again, I appreciate that. Thanks for becoming a member. And then Stephen McMahon, Shirley Millward, says, I'll get the ball rolling. Hey, thank you, Stephen McMahon. I appreciate that. And then Rapture Ready, it will surprise me if the new Supreme Leader lasts very long in this world of the living. I think that's a very accurate statement. Mary Kay Letourneau, he may very well not be with us for very long. Dex, let's go over Russia, China, and Turkey push for immediate end to the Iran war.
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow's headline that he was taken out, right? That's how fast this is going to move. But so Russia, China, and Turkey are pushing for an immediate end. No surprise, like that's what they say. Erdogan, though, is getting into this one. He condemns both sides of the conflict, according to the information. But Russia, China, Turkey on Tuesday called for an immediate end to the war launched by the U.S. and Israel on Saturday against Iran, which has retaliated with missiles and drones across the Middle East. Turkey's President Erdogan, whose country is one of the few in that region that Iran has not fired on, condemned both sides of the conflict and said Ankara and was making intense diplomatic efforts to end it. Attacks on Iran and missiles and kamikaze drone attacks by Iran on neighboring countries in the Gulf have fueled instability, he said. Through peace-oriented diplomacy, we are making intense efforts to resolve issues at the negotiating table. So, again, it's not like they're rolling up with their military. It's not like they're rolling up with their Navy. It's not like they're rolling in with their air forces and saying, we're here to fight and defend Iran. You evil Americans go home. They're just throwing words out there. Well, we should have peace. So I think, they're towing their lines. But as we said, even yesterday, it doesn't look like China and or Russia are going to come to the aid of Iran. They certainly will with lip service, but it doesn't seem like they're rolling in with their military.
And maybe they totally, I could see China totally talking up both Russia and China saying, Iran, no, we got your back. You go to war with them. No, screw those American pigs. We'll go to war with them. And knowing that if this happens, that they will end up, using everything they got, throwing everything they got, and wearing down. Like, maybe Iran didn't want this to happen once they realized that they wouldn't have any back, right? Maybe they're questioning, like, what about Maduro? Like, you guys were supposed to be there for him. Oh, well, we were going to help Maduro, but, unfortunately, he was just taken out so fast. Yeah, we just didn't have time. But if same thing happens to you, we're totally there for you. Yeah, I don't know, but this definitely works out for China's advantage. I mean, if you think about all the stuff we're going to be using towards Iran, and if you realize the numbers of what was going on during the last 4 years, I mean, hell, we left $700 billion worth of freaking stuff in Afghanistan, which is now currently being used by our adversarial, T groups. I mean, you got terrorists flying Blackhawks around and stuff. In fact, there was just a video the other day of just this convoy of American vehicles, but it's not America. It's freaking, it's the bad guys in our stuff that we left there. So yeah, and at that time we talked about all the low stockpiles, and that was almost I'll call it what I think it is. It was on purpose. It was people looking the other way and purposely running down our stockpiles as much as they can, giving it to Ukraine, giving it here, giving it there. Losing it in transit, leaving it in Afghanistan. Like, the whole thing was an absolute mess. And I think it was done on purpose. And it's all leading up to this massive conflict with China. What do you guys think, though? Let me know your opinion in the comments down below. And then thank you. And thank you again, Rapture Ready. I appreciate that. Let's see here. And then Tiffany Hartman, thank you for joining the fam as well. And then Iran's missile math, $20,000 drones take on $4 million Patriots. Again, this is just simple math. This many, what they're shooting at us compared to what we are spending to take these things down. And we have to. I mean, they can't let those drones hit. Those drones are extremely deadly. So when you look at this, this is exactly what I was just talking about. When you have stuff like this, it says, just 3 days into the conflict, the Iran war has become attritional. And that's a word nobody really expected to see, right? Waves of drones attacks by the Islamic Republic are putting pressure on the defenses of the U.S. and its partners from Bahrain to the United Arab Emirates, depleting weapons stockpiles. The outcome of the fight may depend on which side runs out of munitions first. Shahed 136 one-way drones, small rudimentary cruise missiles, continued to pound targets across the Middle East on Monday. The drones have, in recent days, hit U.S. bases, oil infrastructure, and civilian buildings since the U.S.-Israel airstrikes on Iran. The barrage of cruise missiles, drones, and precision-guided bombs began on Saturday. So, and they do this mix. They do these cheap drones. They do, of course, the cruise missiles, and then they do the hypersonic ballistic missiles that are just, all of this is taking up all the defenses they've launched. They also know, just from general information, not from loose lips, but probably also from intelligence as well, spying by China's and Russia, telling Iran, hey, these ships can fire 65 interceptors all at once. If you send 66 at once, you go, okay, there's 65 per boat. There's 11 boats there. They're going to be able to stop, 800 of this smaller thing or 400 of this. Then they send 450. And then they launch the hypersonics at the same time. Those, 30 hypersonics, while the 400 smaller things are getting intercepted, those 50 hit their targets. And they do it in timed kind of waves. And that's what they're seeing. They're seeing literally all of the videos you're seeing right now. You're seeing the defenses all going up, and there's launch. And then 2 seconds later, there's a hypersonic that just goes, phew, bam. I mean, they're literally doing these waves like this because they understand the math of all of it. and the better info that they had, the better intelligence they had on what defenses are there and where our ships are. And Dex, people said that it was bad that it wasn't that big of a deal that China was posting satellite photos of what was there. China knew what they were doing. China was posting what was leaving, how many boats were leaving. They were posting those satellite photos of essentially all the ships that were leaving. That gives, Iran, there's 11 ships here. There's 8 ships there. They know the stats on all of those ships and what ships are leaving and what planes are leaving and what jets are leaving. And they know what they can defend against. And I think it's just a simple math thing. They were showing like, hey, these guys are coming your way. They can probably launch a total of 900 something or others at it. And they're going, okay, we need to launch 1,000. That's what I think. And I understand the numbers are lower, or they're saying they're lower. But it seems to me like a lot of stuff is hitting. And if our stuff is that good and we're launching this many interceptors, we're launching way more interceptors than what they're saying. If we're launching 2 or 3 at everything that's flying, if they've already launched 580 ballistic missiles alone, then we've launched 1,500 plus interceptors, or at least that's what we should be launching. So very, very crazy. Wages World, thank you so much for gifting out those. And then L. Davis, Marfdex and Foogle fam, thank you, and thank you. Farm Girl 151, thank you for the support, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and of the let's just say out of the rough 1,000 number we put up earlier, we supposed earlier, they estimate around 300 to 600 of those went towards Israel. And out of that 300 to 600, there were 10 to 16 impacts. So that gives you an idea of how well the dome is working or not. It's not 100%. It never will be, but it's certainly there's been 10 to 16 major impacts, or penetrations, as they call them.
I don't know if I can believe that, man. I think they exaggerate. That's just my opinion. I know that they're knocking out a lot of stuff, but I mean, some of those videos, you can see entire city blocks on fire right now. It's always the beneficial for them to say that it's totally working, but the people in Israel are saying that they're getting hit left and right, and many of them are right now in bunkers. So I don't know. I'm just this is the stats that are out as of now. I can't remember which group was doing it, but it was one of those research groups trying to keep track of everything. Yeah. Well, there was also groups like that were also telling us the stats on CV in 2019, and everybody believed those too. Well,
80%, say 90% of all stats are wrong, so therefore don't believe any of them. So
I don't know about that statistic. 90%. Exactly. Oh. But
100% of all stats are wrong. How about that one?
Yeah.
Go with it. That works.
I think that's inaccurate. And make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. Of course, Jace is, again, a very quick way and discreet way you can get a kit right to your door with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. I just had to go through a whole round of really rough antibiotics again. And I just thought about, say if I couldn't have went to urgent care like I did. And if you think about that kind of scenario, if you did have to go to the hospital and all of a sudden you can't. I mean, Hurricane Katrina was a bad disaster. It's not the end of the world. It wasn't World War III. But people died just because there wasn't access to hospitals. There was people that perished that literally they couldn't go anywhere because there was nowhere to go. And if you ever get stuck in a situation like that, if you have this on hand, you don't have to worry about that. If there's ever an earthquake on the West Coast, I hope that a lot of you are looking at this because if we have the Cascadia subduction zone hit, we know that all of the overpasses going north to south are just going to drop. I mean, they know that. With a smaller earthquake than a Cascadia, you'll have that whole line. But if you have earthquake like that happen, you're not going to be able to travel north and south. So again, with a situation like that, you might be stuck. You will definitely not have ambulances coming your way. So make sure to go check this out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. It is a quick telehealth appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or other device. marfooglenews.com/Jace and code MARF to save money. All right, and then every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is available over at the website. Everything we showed you here today. Again, new leader launch, everything, activate everyone. And that's also referencing, I'll show you here, we briefly talked about this on news, but they have declared a jihad against the United States. This is a holy document that was just put out by the fatwas. And essentially they're saying that this is not a political war. This is a holy war. Again, a political war can be negotiated. A holy war cannot. It says this isn't rhetoric. This is literally them saying you need to protect. They're humiliating us. We read it in English, interpreted. It's basically saying they're trying to humiliate our whole thing. They're trying to literally take away our religion. They're trying to stop us from doing what we want to do. And they're sending this out to the world, basically saying fight back in any way possible. This is literally a declared jihad against the United States. So hopefully we do not see more events like what happened in Texas and potentially in Washington, D.C. We don't know if that did we find out if that freeway thing where the guy with the sharp object was running around getting people. I didn't ever update on that if that was a T event or not, but they do know that first Texas thing was. And of course, if a bunch of guys, sleeper cells literally are activated right now, and we're not even talking about just regular people that follow this, there are sleeper cells that are in every state. Washington State had a couple thousand, according to a military member, who literally their job was to basically monitor the cells and to try to get as much information on them. Said that there were a few thousand just in my state alone. So I can only imagine some of the bigger states, California and New York and others. So yeah, you don't want to run around your life the whole time afraid, but at the same time, people need to have their heads on a swivel. I like Sarah Adams' advice, and it's the same advice I gave years ago. I did videos on just, we gave kind of the same kind of training instructions they give people on a shooting event. If you're in a mass event, we basically gave you the actual same advice that they give law enforcement. That video is still up, by the way. I forget, we maybe want to link that. But if you're out in a public place, there's simple things that you can do. Know your exits, know where you're going to end up going if something happens. Be aware. What she's saying is big puffy jackets, especially if it doesn't make sense. Like if it's 80 degrees out and they walk in with a huge giant puffy jacket or long trench coats and things like that, like the obvious things. I mean, most people look at that anyways. But they now have things that they said that they are even able to get through metal detectors and things like this. So wherever you are, just be aware. You're not going to be afraid of biting your nails every single place you go, but you might end up being in one of those places. And if you are, God, that video of Texas was pretty idiotic. I mean, some of the people that were upstairs, they were like laughing and drinking and just like being idiots. It's just very, very, very scary to see how some people act in these events in Vegas and in some of these where you just see people kind of do the opposite of what you should do. And I hope that people do end up educating themselves on what they should and shouldn't do in those events. Cartoon Man, there's no denying we are officially in World War III. So many war fronts opening up. I agree, and the U.S. started it. That sounds like it's a bad thing. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do believe it's bad. But in my opinion, it was going to be started by the other side no matter what. Like I saw it playing out and that the other side was going to start it. What I'm seeing, and I'm not, like everybody has their bias about our president stuck in this. With him not involved or not, there was this big event being coordinated between all of our adversaries through our Darien Gap and into our country, and coordinated by people that were in our country, people that were politicians here were helping him. There were people at all levels that were helping this mission. And what I see is literally this administration basically going and saying, we're going to attack first. And that's what they did. Went after Venezuela. The reason why people push back on that is because they hate the president so much. So, oh yeah, he's trying to stop World War III. He's starting it. If you saw the same way that we saw this over the last few years, I don't think they had much choice. And I think he cares so much about his legacy, and he's so worried about it, that he did not want to be the president that got attacked and that completely, just totally screwed everything up. So I think he got nervous, and I think he struck first, and he went, and this was an extremely well planned out thing. Going after Venezuela, going after Cuba, going after Iran, going after Syria first. The Syria thing, that was part of this. Syria being Bashar al-Assad. All of this is being done because of something that was coming, and it is still coming. And that's the thing. I think it's morphing as it goes day to day. Farm Girl, again, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Wages World. Thank you for gifting out those badges. And then Deshanti Glee, thank you, and thank you for the support. L. Davis, 2008, thank you. Rapture Ready, Tiffany Hartman, Just Some Guy, Stephen McMahon. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And then make sure to go check out all the sources over at marfooglenews.com. Make sure to support your mods. They are absolutely awesome. I am still, my nose is just completely stuffed. By the end of the show, it gets bad. I try to do saline before the show. By the end, I'm just like, it's still bad. So I'm not going to be doing a shout-out tonight, but I will be doing one tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be thanking Farm Girl. So I'm making a note right now. I'm thanking Farm Girl and a few others on tomorrow's shoutro. Thank you guys. Much love. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out.
We were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now they see. Until it started happening, and now they see. Everybody thought we were crazy until it started happening, and now